so yeah, I'm the middle school teacher. Principal. Who does grades 6 through 8. I have all middle school teachers.
And Heidi is also doing our district assessment coordination for all of our testing, 6-12 right now, because we're moving more over to Margot from the elementary side. But the DAC is a big job. All of that, the assessment, all that testing, somebody has to coordinate that for the whole district and get that distributed. So it's a pain.
I'm also the ALBA coordinator for the district, which is not just at the middle schools, at the high school. And I'm going through some pretty intense training for that.
Mary Ann Martin, Special Ed Director, birth to 24.
Tracy Tellison, Director of Community Ed and Public Outreach, worked with Summer Rec, Community Ed, Force Prom, Public Relations, a lot of those things.
Me? I'm Margot Hilla, GFE, Principal. I do title coordination, homeless liaison. What else do we do?
You're doing more of the DAC stuff.
More of the DACs, K through to 5 DACs. Yeah, yes. Yeah. I'm learning. I just almost fell asleep listening to the modules. Yeah, this is my second year here.
John Jacobson, Technology Director. I do anything good or bad with technology will probably fall my plate. I go from budgeting, planning, designing, support between our 1-to-1 ratio and wired. And every day we got over 2,000 devices on the network, so that takes a big part of our time.
Wayne LaPard, high school principal. Just try to get them out of here and be productive citizens.
I'm Joe O'Keefe. I'm currently working as the Dilworth Elementary Principal, the District AD. I do the ELL, and I get yelled at a lot.
Whines.
So when you see the principals and you think that they're in charge of their site, they also have a piece of each of the district-wide responsibility. So if somebody says, well, they're only here, no, they have a lot on their plate other than just where they're at. They have other pieces for the district that represents all of us.
And when you look at, for instance, it's a great point because and Wayne has American Indian also. So we have these funding streams that require coordination, meetings, and as Wayne and Heidi are going to find out, we have another meeting that we have to get set up for this week with American Indian because the plan, they want more details because we're on the radar for that. So whether it be audits Mary Ann has a big one with special ed right now this year as far as monitoring. Those things take up a ton of time. And when you compare, like for instance, Moorhead, and when we talk about some of the restructuring of the district, if we go to these different sites with some of this, we're already down to, we've cut one administrative position already. We still have 700-800 kids for each of those two sites. To put it in perspective, at every site in Moorhead, they have a principal and an assistant principal. They have a full-time special ed director. They have a full-time assistant superintendent in charge of school improvement. So the amount of layers compared to what these guys, and so today is an example. Now, tonight we were supposed to have a 7 o'clock meeting about a new grant, the drug-free community grant. We ended up having a conversation with Ann Malmberg regarding that grant and saying, you know what, realistically, let's wait a year for that. It opens up every year. We need people to be able to focus in on, if we go in too many directions at one time, we're going to water down everything. And we really do need to maximize the effort. Part of the reason, and you're going to see shortly, that we already got 100 and some responses back from the staff on that survey. That is overnight. So to look at the fact that we're starting to see that our staff members are seeing that our voice is being listened to. Because for 100 and some employees to already respond back on a survey, I can tell you that doesn't happen a lot in schools. You give a deadline, and we didn't even give a deadline in that email I sent out. It's just, here's what we want. And 100 and whatever it was.
It's like 108.
Yeah, so again, you'll see that, but when we get together every month at a minimum, we have an admin cabinet meeting. We have everything on Team Drive, so when we're having those meetings, we try to link it in between, the weeks between when we have the site meetings, compared to, so each of them has their own site leadership team meetings, and then 2 weeks after that, we have the birth to 5 district-wide meeting and the 6 to 12 district-wide meeting. So taking that information from staff members, what they're seeing at the sites, all that stuff comes back and we bring it right back into the district level leadership with the staff leadership of teachers, what else not. But this group then works in between. We typically have, sometimes I'll say it's only going to be an hour, which is stupid because they all know it becomes 2 or 3 or whatever.
Different snacks, a little.
And lunch.
And lunch sometimes. But we end up having everything's put down into action plans, whose responsibility, we review it every meeting. Who was responsible at the last meeting to get these things done? Did we? If we didn't, why? Move on to the next one and make sure that we're actually seeing action come out of that. So getting out of that mode of, we talked about this for such and such, and then 2-3 years later, we actually get to it. And I know some of that we'll even hit tonight with the survey. And you'll see how we're already doing surveying. It's what type of surveying do we want to do that's nationally normed and what's appropriate to do that type of survey. So that's a little bit more of a spiel for that team. I mean, the team is really, I can honestly say in my time, whether it be as a principal or working as a superintendent, this is the most locked in a capacity in a year's time that I've ever experienced as an administrator, as far as where I feel like our board and our admin cabinet is so much on the same page. And as we're getting the site leaderships with the staff, I think we're just seeing so much better continuity, which is then increasing the communication and lessening the chances of, well, we didn't know. Well, if you didn't know, why didn't you know? Because all staff members can see the team drives, all the minutes, everything that comes out of it. So if you don't know, whose fault? It's kind of like what we talk about with community members not knowing, had a conversation with one of our patrons about, didn't know that the school board bought land. Well, we videotaped the meetings, we put them all on the web, stuff's all there. So if you really want to know, it's there for you. It depends upon how active you're going to be on it. So I think we're taking away some of those barriers that people create sometimes as excuses. So do you want me to hit into a couple things with the bond and where we're at on, so that then whatever, we can have just Q&A. So you're all aware of the issues with the temperatures, the weather. I can honestly say that within the last 48 hours, they keep adjusting this, and the adjustments keep getting colder and colder and colder. This is for our zip code, and this has gone from being 29 below on Tuesday night down to 35 below now. And so you notice our actual, what we've been doing, and I've been showing the rest of the admin team, and I just love data. And I like down here, this you can do for any zip code, and then you can bring up the actual hour by hour. We've been having conversations all day long. Superintendents have statewide. There's a listserv that everybody is honed in on as far as what schools may be doing. And because of the temperature dropping more than what was even anticipated before, I think we're going to see statewide, because the governor is not going to make a call, and that's another story in itself. But what we're going to be hearing by 5 o'clock, everybody was going to be putting it out on to the media. Some had already announced it, but most are announcing it tonight. Okay. The issue we're dealing with, so we know at midnight tonight on Monday, we're going to be seeing, this is going to be the warmest temperature. It's going to be 7 below tonight. That's going to be the warmest temperature until Thursday. Because by 7 it's going to drop to 18 below, wind chill 44, and you can just keep going through it. Initially, I was looking at taking Wednesday, but whether it be Barnesville, Hawley, Pelican Rapids, Breckenridge, Fergus, all the way down 75 and all the way down 94, everybody's closing for the next 2 days. Okay. And I didn't want to put that out this afternoon because I want to talk about it tonight with the board, because if we put it out that we're going to close for the next 2 days, and then it's going to be all kinds of communication from people, well, when are you making up and all that. So we've already been meeting about what makes the most sense for a recommendation to the board tonight, as far as take the 2 days off, and here's the 2 makeup days. And so we already have the calendar adjustments ready for it. Basically what we're looking at is that on the Monday after Easter, April 22nd, and I put that I think in my email before, that would be a teacher work day only. The makeup day for the second day, right now the kids are out on May 30th, on that Thursday. And we've got 2 dates that we can work with really, and only 2 good dates. One is we can make an adjustment on Monday, March 18th, which is a non-school day, or we can go with the one at the end of the year. We talked about that it makes more sense to get the most use out of it, bang for the buck, and if families are already making trips and staff, everybody's been planning trips, let's leave the 18th alone. We may lose it anyway, but as a first day, as far as having the kids, it's not going to make a big difference if the kids come back, since they're already going to be here on Thursday, May 30th, and right now it's scheduled for the staff to be here on Friday, May 31st. We just have the kids go through Friday. Because whether at the high school they have their finals on Wednesday and Thursday or Thursday and Friday, not a big deal. We want to keep a staff day after the kids get out because it's a perfect time for the architects to be meeting with the staff at the end of the school year, so that here's the last thing, we're taking all your feedback and here's an opportunity to share with you before you leave on summer break. So the recommendation we're going to have is second day, use the May 31st, leave that as a student contact day, and have the staff come back on June, I think it's 3rd, on that Monday. And that's when we'd sit down with architects and all that. It's going to be tomorrow. We know that it's 18 below. I had conversations with other soups about going to noon tomorrow. But PR-wise, after all the discussion, trying to get a day in tomorrow to noon. The temperature's going to just start plummeting as the afternoon goes on. And if we have buses that gel up, I don't care if they gel up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, people are going to be ticked about why did you send the buses out. Because the wind chills by 4 in the afternoon, even by noon, it's going to be close to 50 below wind chill tomorrow. And it's just going to, that's going to be the best it's going to be until 10 a.m. on Thursday. So our recommendation is going to be, and we have to add it as a board agenda tonight so that we can, let's adjust the calendar. We can put it right on tonight. Brooke's got it ready to go and she'll put it right on there. We'll do instant alerts and all that to everybody, so everybody knows no school the next 2 days because of temperatures and wind chill.
Why not March 18th first?
Because using that, part of the reason of getting the kids knowing at the end of the year that if they're going to be here through Thursday anyway, that the lesser one, if we have to lose one first, be better to just have them go Thursday and Friday of that week, because we want to keep a staff day at the end of the year, because that's when they can meet with the architects and so on.
I was just thinking it's only January.
And that's why what you'll see on,
Might have to take it anyway.
that's the point. And what's on the calendar for you guys to approve tonight is the calendar shows that just for
possible
losing these 2 days, here's what we're going to do to adjust the calendar right now. But we've already added it in the calendar that March 18th is the next store makeup. So if we lose any more days, March 18th, and then everybody knows it then.
Okay.
Because one of the issues is there are no listed storm makeup days on the calendar right now.
See, but I would rather have the makeup day the 18th, because there's more learning during May 30th, May 31st, they're not gonna be doing any learning. They're done, they're checked out. I just think that would be a much more productive learning day for our students.
And that's, tonight you guys decide which of the two you want as the first one and which one you want as the second. You know, part of it is, do we have families, because we've set this up for plans for travel and all that, and so all of a sudden we're gonna switch it on them when there wasn't anything listed for families, that March 18th was a potential. In the past, we've had calendars that were made up stating the storm days. That group who created this didn't put any down. So we thought for families, if they did set up travel plans, to take that away from them as the first one when they had no notification about it, knowing that we'll probably lose another one, but then at least it's down on people.
Well, I'm just thinking if we take that one, then we have the ability to grab May 31st if we do need another.
Yeah, it's just which one you want to grab. Because you're going to grab one and then have the other one ready. So,
Aside from Easter, are there any other days off in the spring besides that March 18th?
we've got March 15th, but we can't add anything on March 15th. So we've got a spring break. March 14th is a staff in-service on that Thursday, and then Friday is no school because of the parent-teacher conferences that week. But we can't use March 15th as another day because it'd be too many hours in the contract for certified staff. So really, the only options are Good Friday, we got that available. We got the Monday after Easter, which we want for our professional development, and then the end of the year. And we can add on days if we need it at the end of the year for staff. It doesn't mean that we have to add more student days. Pardon?
Is there school the 14th? You said 14th, 15th is a Friday.
14th is just staff in-service.
We have school on President's Day.
That's teachers.
Okay.
Me too.
Young kids.
Yep.
Yep.
Got it.
February 18th,
We got
school.
4 days for a vacation now, right?
Yeah, they've got Thursday, Friday, and Monday.
And Saturday.
You guys think then?
You're talking about Easter break?
Yeah,
Easter
Or
Monday.
Easter break or March.
the March one.
The March one is, yeah, because that's not
Just to be
Easter.
honest, one of the concerns is that might be a time that people have scheduled vacations, which that's their risk when they do that, because those are normally makeup days, but it worries us. If we have to, we have to for the second time around, but it worries us about subs and other things, covering kids. We talked about that today a little bit. I mean, it may not be a problem, the whole book, but it could be a problem. That was one of the things we talked about.
You know, that we're getting, you know, the state tournament weeks and all that, so it's, again, it's 3 of 1, 2 of the other,
Yeah.
which way you want to go with it. And that's
And it would
why,
be just fine.
you know, we met as far as which one do we want, which one are we recommending as the ones to go right away? Because whatever you decide, we want to get the calendar adjusted so that everybody knows, and we can put out the instant alert that this is the student contact day that we're going to make.
What is the current state law on student contact days, or what do you need? Or is there none anymore?
It really isn't.
Okay.
What there is, Ronnie, is that your original calendar must show that it meets the amount of hours.
It's an hour.
Yeah.
We're still 174 contact.
But, so it's the 1,200 and some hours for high school, and then it drops down in the amount of hours for middle school, and drops down further for elementary.
You want
As
me
a-
to calendar up there?
Some kids can handle it. I don't know what your cities are.
I've got hard copies of the calendar for everybody. So this would be the adjusted calendar with those days. And again, it just comes down to, we can make the flip-flop on, right now you notice we're putting in May that the 31st would be a student contact day. And of course, the 3rd of June is when the staff would come back. And then we put in their storm makeup day, if we lose any more, as March 18th. So it's just flip-flopping those two if you decide to do that. So I wanted to get you that information. The next piece of information I wanted to make sure that we got while everybody's here is this, and I've talked to some of you about this. So this is what the next 6 weeks would look like. This is my hope, because I have to be able to set up the meetings. So this is associated with. So we have it set up. This works really well for Wednesday. The architects, the engineers, everybody's coming out on Wednesday. So they're going to
That'll be
start.
nice. No kids will be around. They can
No
just
kids will be around, so it worked out really well. That's why, we've been talking about this for a while in-house.
Who's going on the roof?
Pardon? I know I'm not. But so JLG, Lee will be there, Rob will be there, Jason will be there from Comstock, and then the engineering firms will be there. So we'll have all those reps. They're going to start in Dilworth at 7:30, start going through the buildings. They're going to have the plan so they can tell us exactly with deferred maintenance what may have to happen, and that gives them. So the plan is then, with getting that information on Wednesday, that will give JLG and Comstock until February 8th to lock in all the numbers. We've got round numbers right now, but again, part of those round numbers is including 15 million estimate on deferred maintenance, which could vary between the two plans. Then, knowing that, what I would be proposing is setting up a task force meeting on the 11th. Dan Miller is able to come up. Lee is able to be there. So if we run the school board meeting at 6 and then do the task force meeting, set that up for 7 o'clock that night, and go over, show them both Plan A, that they've already seen, and then Plan B. So bring the task force in on the 11th, and that gives 2 weeks, if there needs to be a second task force meeting, to do that, with the idea then the task force would have a recommendation to the board on Plan A or Plan B by the February 25th board meeting. Okay? Then notice we've got the 19th, the 21st, and the 22nd. We have 3 different basketball games. So we've got good opportunities to be able to have the display boards. JLG will have both Plan A and Plan B display boards ready by the 18th. So at all those home events, anything that we have the following 2 weeks, we can have display boards with both Plan A and Plan B right there to get public feedback.
We make sure we have the dollar amounts on both of them this time.
The dollar amounts will be on there, and the spelling will be spell checked.
Awesome.
I already had that conversation with Dan.
Are we not able to have school the 18th? Could that be a makeup day?
We can have school, and that can be a makeup day.
JLG plans on serving people almost on the spot, don't they?
We're gonna,
Is that part of their plan?
yeah, well, what we're gonna do is that same type of, where you can take the stickers, which plan, A or B. Then, we'll do locally, just like we did with staff, is we'll do the same type of a survey monkey that'll be created. So the week of March 4th through the 8th, then we can do community survey. So part of this plan would be that we put out, so I'll be working with Tracy on taking this stuff, putting these dates when there's going to be the availability to be able to see the display boards, and that'll be mailed out to every patron this Friday, so that everybody will know well in advance and they've got opportunities to see all this stuff. So we don't have to look at it only being on the website, because if some people don't see the website, this way, if they're in senior housing, whatever happens to be, they're all going to get a letter with all these opportunities.
That gets mailed out on the 8th.
That's going to get mailed this Friday. So this is all assuming that you're in agreement that this, yep, go with it, Brian. Then we'll work on that this week and get that letter out. And then that way, those who can't come in, but they want to fill out a survey, we'll send them out a survey.
Sounds great.
So, anybody who wants to give feedback, and again, this is only about option A or option B. But by that point in time, we'll have the numbers on how much Plan A costs compared to Plan B.
Well, not when you send the letter out, but when they do
Not
the
when the
survey.
letter, but when they get
do
the survey.
Okay.
And that'll be in the letter that when you get surveyed, the dollar amounts will be in the survey for both plans. That way, you will have had feedback from staff. The other thing I want to do, and Wayne and I haven't had the chance to talk, when I talked to my daughter about it earlier, but I want to sit down with student council and walk through these plans with the student council. And what are we missing? Anything else that you think should be emphasized? And so now we get feedback from students, all staff, task force, and community. You have all of that before you make your decision on March 11th. You guys good with this? Then I can proceed. So that's what I have.
Excited.
What time are we calling the conference?
I'm sure we're past 5:30.
Yeah, it's 5:34.
Okay, so the survey people that we had met down in the cities and talked to down in the cities, you went to that workshop?
I did.
Yeah.
You went to that workshop?
Yeah.
And then I went to the round table, and they were very, very interesting. And so the third party, and that's what I had sent you guys that link to look at. As far as that, we're going to be having them call and do a little presentation because they're out of Wisconsin, just so we can get a little bit of feedback that, is this the route that we want to go as far as survey the community, what would we need to do? Eventually, we'll be doing staff, we'll be doing,
This is regarding referendum.
the first one will be regarding referendum. Yep. And we've talked about surveying patrons and staff with other things too, as far as the culture and climate of our school. But we need to start with the survey part as
Because
far
when are
as
you
the
thinking
referendum.
culture and climate?
After we get, I mean, they have a step-by-step in what they have
Okay.
as far
Good.
as.
I mean, just, I guess I'm kind of curious. I didn't know that we were doing this tonight, so that wasn't communicated.
I didn't either.
Okay,
The other thing
they
is-
called and said that they could do that tonight, so that's
Oh.
why we're just, it's just a presentation, just so we can
Okay.
ask.
Yeah,
just
they-
to-
We're not
Yeah,
deciding.
nothing is
No,
being
that's fine, I
decided.
get that.
Yeah.
What I'm asking though is that for the past 2 years, just to kind of get an
Yep,
idea,
we've
we've
talked
been
about it.
asking
Yep.
to do a survey, but you
Yep.
say never in the spring,
Yep.
right? I mean, you've always told us that
We'll
we're
listen
not.
to what they have to say as far as
Okay.
what they recommend.
In the last 2 years, I think their predictions have been 100% right in what they do. And
Yes.
they had one that they said you could only spend 15.5 million, and the board went for 16.2, and it failed. And so we told you it wouldn't
That
go,
was
so.
the only
they're
one
not-
that failed.
Now, we've done tax tolerance already once. We just did that a couple of years ago. You know, part of, and I had a discussion with Sue for about 45 minutes. So when we go into this and when they're presenting, you know, part of this is also understanding that the surveying process is not a one-time shot. And in particular, when we talk about whether we're looking at student satisfaction, staff satisfaction, climate and all those things, that's not something we're going to be doing this spring. We're not ready for
Okay,
that.
that was just my question,
Yeah.
because we've always been told no
Yeah.
on doing that, because.
And that's one of the reasons we got a public climate committee.
Right.
Because, but it works really well having everybody here tonight so we can talk about, okay, does it make sense to use some of their stuff, which is more the nationally norm? And then what survey instruments would we use of theirs? What would we contract them for?
Right, because everybody has talked about before, any survey that goes out, teachers are fearful of answering that because they feel that they're going to
Be identified.
by identified. So this is 100% anonymous. And so I had contacted them saying that, could you come and do a presentation, just so we can hear what you have to offer a third party. And they said that they can't come right now, but they could actually do this, and they could do it on Monday. And so it's like, well, we're already meeting at 5, 9, another meeting time. Let's do it tonight just to hear information from them. We're certainly not making any decisions, we're just hearing a third party.
No, that's not.
Actually, she's only got 15 minutes because she'll keep talking.
No, they're just going to, they're just, oh, okay.
They're leaving us the PowerPoint and all that. The thing is, I think this is one of the long.
We're dialed in now. Are they? Hello? Yeah, we're on speaker. This is an ID number that is shared, so.
All good and bad.
Yeah.
Joe said it, not us.
And what may come out of this is that we just route it over to the Culture Climate Committee and have them sit down with them and go through that and get recommendations from them on a timeline.
Because they were thinking, the one I was, they said they need 3 to 6 months to prepare a survey.
Exactly.
And I'm worried that we don't have enough timelines, and they want to survey 6 months before the,
Right, and if
or
that's,
3 months before.
you know, and if people want to use this company and we can't do it for the referendum part, maybe this would be for culture and climate for staff and community and things like that. So we're not.
And if we're talking about just doing another one on tax tolerance and that once we know which plan we're going with, that's something that can be set up, whether it be, I mean, our CM and our architects work with Ellers and we've already done one of them. So again, that's why I asked the question. We have to make a determination, are we using this company for tax tolerance or are we using this for culture climate?
Wasn't it, in JLG, they said they would survey for us? Is that part of the services that we contracted them for, or is that extra?
It's extra. They can,
Okay.
because what they're gonna do is subcontract.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, that's why last time that we did one with Ellers, that was a subcontracting.
Okay.
So whether it be school perceptions or Ellers or whatever,
Well, this one was way cheaper than the last.
Yeah, because wasn't the last survey like 11,000 or something?
well, part of it is,
That's
are you gonna have phone surveying or are you gonna have more online? Because when we did the tax tolerance,
placed into the conference. Are you there? Oh, I can grab you this way if that's easier.
we are there.
All right. Don't call this number on the screen then. We'll do that. Good evening. Are you ready for me or you got other stuff to do?
Oh, we are ready for you.
Perfect. All right. Good evening. So I believe our goal in our time together tonight is for me to talk a little bit about how and what can we gather data from staff, parents, and students. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. So let me tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and then you can kind of think about how this may or may not fit into your district's plans. Just a quick couple things about us, about school perceptions. We're based out of Wisconsin. We do work in all 50 states. We've been in business since 2002. And our goal really is to help school districts, educational leaders like yourself, gather, organize, and use data to make strategic decisions. And we do that primarily through survey work and gathering data through surveys. So we conduct hundreds and hundreds of surveys every year. We do community surveys for the sake of referenda planning and strategic planning. We do staff, parents, and student engagement surveys where we gather data kind of around engagement, satisfaction, retention, those types of things. We have a post-athletic season survey for parents and students, and we have some development tools that school boards use to align, to see if they're aligned as a board as far as priorities and work. So I'm going to explain to you the 3 different surveys on staff, parents, and students. And really, once you understand the methodology of the first one, it'll make sense with surveys 2 and 3. So I'm going to start with the staff survey. And just obviously, you know that why would we gather data on staff? The majority of your funds and your budget is spent on personnel. And that's different than in private organizations. So many businesses might only spend 35 to 40% of their income on staff, but school districts are unique in the fact that the majority of their money is spent on their people. And so we always say we want to make sure that you've got engaged employees. So you've got either, your employees often are either an asset or they're a liability. So we use this, kind of an image here of, how are folks rocking your boat? And we say that in a typical workforce, you've got 30% of your employees are engaged. Those are the folks that are rowing your boat. They're doing good work. They're making a difference. There's folks that are disengaged. Often nearly half, they're just hanging out. They're not paddling, but they're not helping move you forward. And then you've got this other group that's actively disengaged. They're the ones that are rowing the other direction. They're putting water in the boat, right? They're trying to sink you. And these folks can start to impact those other disengaged people. So we want to make sure that we're really looking at what it is that engages our employees. Where do we have issues that we can deal with them so that all of our employees are engaged and they're doing their best work day in and day out, and they're working hard and they're staying late and they're satisfied, and your administrative team isn't spending their summer hiring and you haven't trained people that now leave you and you just start over. So how we've designed all of our surveys is we've created indexes. So in our staff and our parents and our student surveys, we've done research, and we've had research teams really look at what are these key issues of engagement with each of these three groups. So in our staff, specific to education, we've identified 12 key indexes of employee engagement. And they're really in three themes. So the first is in people. So we say it's important for those in education to have some control over their work environment. We want to make sure individually they're healthy people, that they're able to really maintain a workload and balance life and work, and that they have a feeling of being valued, so affirmation. Then we talk about place. Are we making sure that our employees have the tools and training to be successful? How do they interact with their colleagues? So are those healthy work relationships? Is there a sense of a culture of educational excellence? And do they take pride in what they do, or are they just showing up and getting the job done? And is there trust within the leadership within their building? So do they believe that their building leader is moving them forward? And then finally, that third P is really about process. So do I have support from parents and the community, and an understanding then of the improvement plan and improvement process that as a district we have in place? Do I as an employee have trust in district leadership? That includes the school board. And then finally, how are our communication systems in place? So in essence, we've built a normed and validated survey around those 12 themes or indexes. And so, and the survey then can be customized. So we have kind of this base of 50 questions, but then if there's other pieces that a school district wants to add or get more information about, we can also customize, and we've got other question sets that aren't really in our base survey. So the way the survey works is that an email invitation is sent to all employees in the school district. So that means classroom teachers, it means paraprofessionals or instructional aides, it means your cooks, your custodians, your school secretaries, your school psychs, school nurses, principals, superintendent, everybody takes the survey. And it's important because this isn't just about teachers. Okay, this is about everybody that interacts with each other in the school system. So they're all going to get an email invitation to take the survey. We've built proprietary software, so the survey can be taken once and only once. If they don't complete the survey in the first 4 days of the survey window, our system sends reminder emails to non-responders. So we know if that email address's survey access code has completed the survey, but there's no way to identify Sue Peterson's responses to the survey. All right? So then when folks click on it, they identify some things. They identify what their work group is. They tell us how many years they've worked in the district. If you've got multiple schools, they tell us which school you work in. And then they move through a series of questions that have a strongly agree to a strongly disagree Likert scale. So here's some examples. We'll ask about culture of open dialogue. Is there a process for evaluating the effect of new initiatives? I'm confident our districts will be able to develop and execute an improvement plan. So again, there's several screens that look like this. The respondent clicks through them. It takes about 7 to 10 minutes to complete the survey, some longer if they choose to write comments. So they get through the survey, all respondents get done, and about 2 weeks after the survey, so it takes about 2 weeks for the survey to be open to gather that data. And then we create different reports that help the district to take a look at where are we? What do we look like? So we'll do a big picture report. That's kind of if we look at all of our employees and all of our buildings across all work groups, how do we fare? What does that look like? So you'll get a PowerPoint that has some screens that look like this. So we'll say, 79% of your employees either strongly agree or agree that the district will be able to execute an improvement plan. And that's an average of a 3.64. We say, what does that mean? We said if everyone has said strongly agree, you see a 5. If they said strongly disagree, you see a 1. So we start to get a sense of, we might have some issues someplace, and we might really be rocking it in other places. But the big picture report doesn't really tell us who's struggling, if it's in a particular building, really on what particular themes or issues. So then we said, all right, well, we've built these index reports, and we've created comparison opportunities. So what does that look like, and why is that important? Well, we're going to break out your data by work group. So we're going to look just at teachers. And we're going to look just at teachers at a particular building. And we're going to look at other certified staff. And we're going to look at that are in that building as well. And then we're going to say, well, is a 3.44 good, bad? What does that look like? What is that? Is that where middle school teachers should be? So we'll compare your teachers that work at the middle school with school districts like you, so similar in demographics, size of community, size of your school, to 10 other school districts who've recently taken our survey. So again, we do this thousands of times a year, so we look for comparisons like you. And then we say, all right, let's compare middle school teachers, your middle school, to that comparison group. Oops. And then let's look at that difference or that variance. And so for the sake of this, point 2 we consider statistically significant. And we start to say, all right, from a health and wellness standpoint, yep, your middle school teachers are pretty typical. And from a workload, yeah, we ask a lot of teachers, but very similar. But then we start to see that we turn some things red, that we've got some areas that, compared to other middle schools, you may be struggling a little bit more. And we start to go, equipped, tools and training to do their job. Do they have the resources? How do they work as a team? Those are concerning. Those are kind of big numbers. Is that universal across the building? No, but we look here at our ed specialists, they're doing okay. In fact, in some areas, they're doing better than ed specialists in school districts like you. So this sheet goes on, and it'll look at aides, so your paraprofessionals. It'll compare your cooks, custodians, and secretaries. So it allows us, really, it's intended at a quick glance to be able to say, here's areas where we're struggling, here's areas where we're perhaps doing better. And then what we can do is, okay, so in equipped, we might be struggling. We would produce another report that would look at all of the questions that build the equipped index. And then we might see that there's one question, that there's a hot issue with teachers at this particular middle school. So instead of chasing your tail, because you're a school board member and you get a call from 1 or 2 employees who says, everybody's worked up about this, we can quantify that and say, no, at your middle school, it's your classroom teachers who've been in the district 10 or more years who are struggling with the tools and training to do their jobs successfully, or access to training on technology. So we can dig down to a level so we can quickly say, here's where we're doing really well, here's why we're struggling, and here's the group who's struggling. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm going to pause you for a second, just so you know that we're going to have to be ending in like a minute or two. I wanted just the staff, there was just a couple of us that went to MSBA and saw your presentation. And so this is just, I wanted them to be aware of a snippet and see if this is something that we want to research further. And so that's why I had asked you to do your presentation tonight. So if we can wrap up just a quick minute overview of, you know, other things that you might have to offer, and then give our board a chance to talk about this at another date. Thank you.
Yep, so that exact same system of emailing, gathering data, comparable, breaking it down, we do on parent surveys, so these are kind of our themes, and we've got these normed questions. And then additionally, and you all got handouts, I think I sent them over so you can read through those. Additionally, we do the same thing with students. So we use our proprietary software, we email out, we gather information on your students, on these indexes of connectedness, drive, citizenship, preparations, social emotional aptitude, and wellness. So again, all of our software works the same way. They're just different surveys designed to really look at engagement, satisfaction, and then who's struggling, how we can support them in those 3 different groups. Questions for me?
This is just one of the areas. I mean, it was just very interesting at MSBA, and so we talked about doing surveys. So we're looking at companies that would possibly be fulfilling our needs. So we will discuss this further and get back with you on it, whether we are interested in going with your company or not. We appreciate your time.
Very good. And Brian, I know, he had some handouts, so those kind of allow you to look through, read a little bit more about our methodology, and check out our website. We're here if you need us.
And Sue, this, Brian, is most likely some of the next steps when we have the Birth of 5 leadership district-wide meetings and the 6 to 12 meeting district-wide, and our culture climate. We probably will be looking at seeing if we can set up a time during a school day, especially when we have just staff in, so that we can go a little bit more in depth and bring our staff leadership up to speed on this. Because we have definitely had some of those conversations, and then we can actually just get 45 minutes to actually do Q&A. But I knew we were on a time crunch, at least this way the people can check the website, and we're putting the handouts and what else not directly into a shared folder that everybody can go through.
Excellent. Well, we're here to help you if you need us.
All right. Thanks, Sue.
All right. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye. I knew we had time crunch tonight. So this company is presented at MASA and the Back to School Conference before. So admin team, school perception, like at the principals conferences and all that, they're there. Because I asked Sue about that. She said, we present at MASSD with a conference. So if we got anybody that, and the elementary one, they present there also. So, but I think the best thing would be is if we can probably have a meeting and have her actually present with some leadership. Because this is something we try to get some, but they do have, it is very similar to the old case IMS survey. I like the national norm that we do in comparison. So what does 3.2 mean in comparison? You know, it's all relevant. So. All right, where we at time? Did we get 6? 5:58. Awesome.
Brian, just an FYI, I text you if you need that laptop. If it isn't, like, I'm logged in, but I text you my password, so if you need it, if not, sign out when it's done. Perfect. All good.
I'll take care of that.
Yep. And you won't need the phone anymore?
Nope.
So maybe what I probably should do, just in case somebody tries to do a sales call, I'll just connect it right now, so.
Sorry.
I'm actually more interested in
Wondering where that the heck did it go to?
saying who you are, you also get to break down the and then in that one, they also give you your actual after they get the survey back.
And it could end up being one of those that we do.
Sandy, do you have the board bills?
On the top dollars and some of that is the summer thing. Or in like in April or May, once we know which plan we're going for.
You too.
And then, okay, can we go here?
Brian's got it.
For what?
No.
They folded it? It's cold. I've got a little more slices than you do, so.
So are they?
Well, I think it's the right call to cancel school tomorrow.
No, they're not in the packet. Anyway.
So the ones that's in the.
No, there's no question.
Yeah, she usually does a final.
She does a final and she brings it.
Get some big breakdowns.
Someone breaks down. It's waiting at the.
But we don't have the amount for tonight's meeting.
Unless you go online and
Like keep that locked.
Yeah, my kids, I mean, we're across the street, but still, you know,
She usually does a synopsis.
She usually gives me a special sheet.
What did they say? I know I heard
And nobody else
less
had?
than
I'm just
10
wondering.
or like 10 minutes.
Up here.
That was when it was like, you know, they're saying.
Does anybody have a one-page sheet showing the
Either blue marker on it, orange marker on it, green marker on it.
this one, no, this is the treasurer's report. You don't want that. You want the board bills, right?
Yeah.
it's got a marker on it.
Amy, did you happen to get? Did you get the board bills happen to be stuck in yours?
If you pull it up, gee, he'll take a time to find it. It's on the email from Brooke, or I mean from Cindy.
The final one is?
Well, I don't know.
Never mind. Perfect. Yeah, I don't think we ever get this.
Good to go.
Okay, it is 6:02. Sorry to call the meeting.